Hey everybody, hey Dolls. Hello, hello. I hope everybody is having a good Thursday. Sorry, I'm used to saying Wednesday because I'm usually live on Wednesdays. But let me know if you can see me okay. I'm just finishing doing my social media stuff and then I'm going to get started. So we're not going to be on here as long today. I say that, but watch us be on here as long as we were last time because today is the first day of my boot camp. It's the first day of my boot camp. So everybody that's in my boot camp, I'm excited to teach y'all. Let me know if y'all can hear me okay. If everything's good, you can see, you can hear all that good stuff because I'm using StreamYard. Okay, perfect. No echoes and nothing, so we're good to go. So this is my mom, the guest, Mama Martin's Kitchen. If you have not caught our last live stream we did together for Mother's Day, that was just talking about our experiences like as moms and her experience, just general motherhood stuff. But this today is we're gonna touch on parenting, but more so from the standpoint of parenting in America versus Guyana, because my mom is from Guyana, South America, and June is Caribbean American Heritage Month, so I do want to just shed some light on the culture, like different things that are done when a baby's born. I shared a post earlier sharing just some traditions on that, some obstacles that she faced, cultural differences that might have been difficult, things that she wished that she could have done. We're just gonna kind of flow. It's not super structured. This is really just a conversation. Sometimes I just like to go with the flow. And to be honest, sometimes I just don't have the time to plan a script. So, but I'm good at flying by the seat of my pants. So that's what we're going to do today. As you come in, don't forget to don't forget to share this out. Let people come and join the conversation, ask questions, engage, all that good stuff. And thank you, Kendall. Kendall said she liked the post. She loved the post about the baby stuff that I put up. Okay. So yeah, she's really loving. A lot of them are really loving me sharing culture. I'm always leery about sharing it just because, I don't want to come off like I'm bashing American culture in any way, shape, or form when I say certain things, or I'm thinking I'm better than anybody. And I know it might sound like I'm reaching, but to be honest, people really do think those kind of things sometimes when you share your culture. And it's just like, hey, I have experience in both cultures. So, but knowing that it's a safe space and my tribe likes it, I would definitely try to share more. Because honestly, that's what I was doing when I first started my page. I was going to share just more about multi-generational living and things that we do as a family and stuff. And then I kind of just went off and did other stuff. So I'm excited to kind of just slowly but surely bring things back and not care so much about being an influencer, but really just letting you into my world and building my tribe that way and influencing in that way. So anywho, we're going to go ahead and get started. So you just want to introduce yourself again, just in case these are people's first time. This is people's first time seeing you.
Well, hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Good Thursday afternoon. My name is Constance Martin, and as Rondelle said, I'm her mom. And I'm from Guyana, South America. But our culture in Guyana is not South American culture, it's Caribbean. And I own Mama Martin's Kitchen. I cater, I do cooking and baking and stuff like that. And I always tell my age. I'm 70 years and 7 months old. So nice to be on. And I hope we have some fun and that what I have to say is informative.
And just so you know, the reason why our culture is Caribbean instead of more South American is because we're the only English-speaking country in South America. So that's why we tend to lean more to Caribbean or West Indian culture versus the rest of South America speaks Spanish, Portuguese, French, Dutch. So yeah, we're kind of the lone wolf there when it comes to English-speaking countries. But okay, so the first thing I want to touch on is just give some background as to how long you've been parenting. I know you've been parenting at least 50 years because Junior ain't no spring chicken. Junior's my brother. So sorry, Junior, if you're catching this, but he ain't no spring chicken, okay? He getting up there. So, and then I know you raised your siblings and stuff, but how many years would you say you've been actually parenting or taking on a parental type of role?
Oh, well, it was first with Junior because my parents were alive and they were raising the younger ones because I am lots of years older than them. And Junior was born in 1973, so he's going to be 40 this year. And that's when I started being a real parent, a mother, making rules, order, and everything else. And at the beginning, I had a lot of help because my grandmother, my mother's mother, she was alive. My mother was alive. Junior was the first great grand, because I am the oldest. My mother was an only child. And so there was a lot of fun. He never went to a sitter, my mother and my grandmother and my father, and so they took care of him so that I can go to work. And all I did was just raise Junior the way I was raised, because you're in our culture and most cultures in the Caribbean and stuff, you're expected to raise your children with the values that was taught to you, and you pass it down. And if you're not doing that, you will be told, because it's not only mommy or daddy, it's auntie and cousin, this, and any elder would tell you that you must have lost your mind because your parents did not raise you like that. So I just did what I was taught. Junior had the same rules I had. He was taught to you do not call your elders by their first name, because we were told they didn't born the same day like you. So you have some respect. And we were told that we had to call every person that was within our family or in the neighbors, whomever that we came into contact with often, cousin whatever, and uncle whatever, and auntie. That's how we spoke to our elders. And the village raised the child. So when you are going out from your parents' home, you act like if your parents are still there, because as the minute you step out of the line, before you get back home, your parents already know and they're waiting for you with the belt, because you're going to get a sound licking. And when we were growing up, we used to say that grown ups, so we used to call them big people, because once you're older, they would say big people. And we would say big people really like to see little children get licks. Because they couldn't wait to complain. Run up the street to your mother and tell your mother, oh, I see Connie on the road and she did this and she did that, or she said this. And they don't ask you if you really did it, because they had some big people who would just tell lies to see you get a licking.
Yeah.
But they don't ask you anything, because they would tell you big people don't tell lies on children.
Which is a lie.
Which is a lie. And always stop when my mother never used to beat me a lot, because I didn't have a lot of friends. I never used to get into, as we call it home, them say, you say, me say. Because when you gossip, you get into these things and people say, well, go to say, well, you said this, you said that, and there's confusion. So since I didn't like a lot of friends, I didn't think anybody, of which was, now I look back, was kind of weird. But I didn't think anybody in my age group had anything of intelligence to tell me. Because whatever they will tell you was always things that would get you into trouble. They didn't have any good advice. They would tell you to disobey your parents. And then when you get into trouble, you're the one who get the sound licking and the punishment. My friends were always older than me, and most times they were women that were grown and married and had a family. So those were my friends. I went to piano lessons when I'm playing at all the concerts and stuff and so on. The people that came to listen to me followed me around. They were grown women with husbands and children who followed me around, and they were my friends. So if I go to them with something that didn't make sense, they would tell me, your mother is not going to encourage you with that, so don't even bring that up to her.
And I also want to mention too that my mom raised her youngest siblings too, because her dad died when she was 29. And at that point, like, my grandmother was older, so my mom took on that parental kind of role. So that's why I say, like, she's been a parent for at least 50 years, because when you count her siblings and stuff, she's been doing it for a while. Because 29 to 70, I mean, that's yeah.
Yes, because Junior was already born and he was there, and I took over. I thought it was the right thing to do, because I had to go on to tell my mother that her husband was dead. Because I went to the hospital early in the morning and saw an empty bed. And I was standing there thinking that he was gone for some test or something. And then the nurse asked me who I was and why I was standing there. And I told her. And once she started saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Well, you don't have to finish the conversation." I got the message.
And even before he died too,
uh-huh.
because she's so much older. So even before my grandfather died, because my mom is so much older, you can say she was like a third parent kind of role. So like how my brother, he's 15 years older than me, just about like 2 weeks shy of 15 years older than me. He became like that third parent role. So there were a lot of times we were growing up when people thought I was his daughter because like he worked at my daycare. So he used to like buy me and my friends ice cream. He used to take me to school, take me home, take me out with his friends. Everywhere he was at, I was there with him, and he would fill in those spaces for my parents if they had to work or do other stuff. He would be like that third parent. So that's why to this day, like, I mean, I don't see him like a father. Me and him are more like buddies. Like we've been in the club together. We be cutting up, like, all of that. But he was like the cool third parent. So it was like if there were things that maybe my mom and dad wouldn't want me to do, he'd be like, okay, like go ahead and do it, but just be safe or whatever. Like now I can say all of that because it's years behind.
Yeah, because he would have been punished.
Now I can come clean and be like, yeah, so we actually snuck and did things. But like it was like that. So my mom was that kind of person for her siblings. And even now, if you go to Guyana or you hear any of her sisters or brother, well, the one surviving brother, full brother, because she has a half brother, calling her name, they'll say like Sister Connie and things like that, because she's seen as like their sister, but also like a mother in a way, because she really helped them just get to where they are in life. So yeah, so I did want to say that too, because that's important to note that you weren't just raising your own kids, but also like siblings and helping out and just getting them to that next stage in life so they can accomplish what they need to accomplish.
Yeah, because my father's death, when I told my mother, and she was so upset because they were young. I mean, when I say young, I'm so much older than them.
Because how much older are you than Auntie Simone?
Simone is 51. She just turned 51. I'll be 71 in December.
And then my Auntie Karen, she's the next girl after my mom. And
Karen was born 1967.
So she's 17 years younger than, almost 17 years younger than my mom. So you can see the age gap here, and the rest just keep getting younger and younger and younger till the youngest one, my Auntie Roxanne, she's what, almost 30 years younger than you?
She was 45 in
so she's like January. 25 years younger than my mom or something like that. So it's a big age gap. Like she's younger than my brother. Like that's how much of the age gap it is. But yeah, continue. I just want to say that.
Yeah. So once I told my mom, and she was already sick, and then she got so upset. And I said to her, well, I know you'll be upset and everything else, but you don't have to worry, because I'm making a promise that I will be there until the day that I die. I'll make sure that they go to school, they get a good education, because they were going to private school as I went to private school, and they were going to music lessons, we call it in Guyana, to learn to play instrument. Who wasn't playing violin, was playing piano. Because my father was a member of parliament and a minister of the government. So, she had chauffeur and maid and everything else. I said, I will do the best I can. I said, I don't know how much I can promise, but I will do the best that I can to see them through. And I still do it, because I was talking to my younger sister yesterday. We were talking about old times. And she asked me that question, said, I was wanting to ask you, Sister Connie, why are you still there? And she said, she's so bossy, you still want to tell us what to do. I said, of course I'm going to tell you what to do, because I'm older than you. I said, I made a promise to Mommy on November 1st, 1979, that I was going to be there. I said, when you make a promise, I said, I don't know about anybody else, but I was raised that when you make a promise, you die keeping that promise. You do not promise people that you will help them or you will do things for them, and then you just
promises these days are like, I'm not even going to get on that topic, because I'm going to end up on my soapbox.
And and you just snuck out to the side to get an attitude that, well, they're asking me for things. Why they're asking me for things? They're asking you for things because you made a promise. If you know you're not going to keep a promise, and you're selfish and self-centered and egotistical, then keep your mouth shut. You don't tell anybody anything. I said, but I made that promise. I said, and Mommy is dead, and I cannot negotiate. I said, if she was alive and I wanted to change my mind, which I would not have, I said I could have negotiated with her. Well, I'm going to have to change some things because of this or that and explain the circumstance. I said, but she's not there. You can't speak to a dead person. There's no communication. So I continue to do what I promised to do, and I do the best that I can. And if I don't have it, I said, I will say up front, I don't have it. I said, I promise you, I see everybody get married, and I've done that so far. Every wedding I've paid for, because it is the right thing to do. I was oldest, I got the best.
So Kendall is saying, Kendall said, I just love the values. I truly feel like Black Americans are missing these values from their roots. This is why I love discussions like this. I miss the community. Yeah. And I responded back and I told her, like, I love sharing my culture. But like I said, like, I'm trying to get to a point where I'm confident doing it, because a lot of times, and this can tie into, my experience growing up Caribbean American. A lot of times when you share something about your culture, or like you have pride in the fact that your heritage is not just rooted in American culture, you're looked down upon. Or there are a lot of Black Americans that don't consider Black Caribbean people or foreign Black people to be Black. So they feel like, and I get it. This is a very layered conversation. There's different things that we didn't experience in the same capacity or the same way. And, our journeys have been altered by us being dropped off at different slave stops. I mean, let's just call it what it is. But because of that, they tend to feel like, well, you can't relate to what my ancestors went through. So you're not really Black. Like, you still have someplace else that you can go. You still have someplace else that you take pride in. So you can't really claim being Black. You can't really speak on the Black experience. And being Caribbean American, it's at the intersection of that. And it's like, I feel the pain on both sides. I understand how both sides feel. So, that's just something that I have really have struggled with, and why I'm kind of like always being politically correct when I do share my culture or my thoughts, because, the internet is wild. The internet is like the wild, wild west. People will take a snippet of what you say and run with it. And I just don't even want to be going back and forth with people and trolls and stuff like that. But knowing that I built my tribe to what it is, it really helps. And then Pearls in Pink, she said, I'm loving the island accent. So yeah, she loves the island accent. I wish I had it.
I can't get rid of it. I mean, over the years, when my husband was here, before he got sick, and he would invite friends over to the house and stuff, and they would say, well, the Americans would always say, I love your wife's accent. The Caribbean ones would say, I don't know why you don't try and get rid of that accent. She sounds so tribal. So one day he finally told me what one of them said after he left. I said, that is what that man said. He said, yes. He said, you're too tribal. He said that. I told him, do you want to tell her? Have the conversation with her, and whatever you get, you'll take.
Yeah.
he said, oh no, I don't want any problems with your wife. I said, that's my accent. I came to America as an adult. I didn't come as a junior, was born in Guyana, but he came here as a child. He was 9 years old. So it's easy for him to change his accent. I said, I came here at 32 years old.
At a certain point, the accent, it is what it is.
No way I can change it. So, and I take pride in who I am, where I came from, the way I was raised, how I grew up. And, I have the stories to tell. You were born into this family and you grew up this way and you had all this, exciting life. And
the one thing I will say for those who came in late is like, so the first point my mom made about the differences between raising a child in Guyana versus here, because my brother was born in Guyana. He came here when he was 9, and me and my sister were born in the States. Is the community aspect. It's very communal. So that's what she was saying in the first point. Because, y'all know we ramble here. We go on tangents. You know the vibes. So, I just don't want you to be like, wait, I came in late. What you talking about? So, but it's the community aspect, knowing that it really genuinely is the village raising the child. Everything from, you can't go on the road and act a fool, because not only are you representing your parents, but the people in the village are going to tell your parents, like, because you guys know how adults are. They're nosy. They got time, especially the elderly people. But elderly people, every neighborhood I've lived in, which is funny, even in this country, I've always had one elderly person in the neighborhood who knew everybody's business, was always sitting in the kitchen window or the living room window or the balcony on the phone. It's always like that. My mom's that person now. My mom be noticing.
Because I don't
she got Christian doing So it's funny because like my mom would be higher up, peeking through the blind, but adults can put a little space, but Christian just be like, boop, just like looking. So you just see two sets of eyes looking through the blind. I'm so glad the neighbors across the street don't live there anymore, even though the guy was always in the yard, but he was kind of nosy too, but he used to pretend he was doing yard work. So
yeah, so you can see
he was an elderly man.
Elderly people in this neighborhood, everybody is peeping through some window or something. Okay. You don't have anything else to do, we retired.
Yeah, so in the community, in the village, they would definitely like look out for you. They would definitely be like, okay, your child was doing this. They were cutting up this, that, the third. So that was the first thing that my mom said she liked or noticed the difference in. So what would be another thing that you noticed the difference in with raising kids in Guyana versus here?
Well, besides you can be corrected by anyone. Here, I don't hate my fellow Black people, Black Americans, but I found out over time when I first came here that if you see their children doing something and you know them, you can't, even some come from the Caribbean, pick up that attitude. You cannot tell them. And if you don't have people being able to tell you about your kids, you can have kids that turn out completely opposite to what you had expected, because children don't always do what you tell them to do, because you're not always there, and you give them orders and you teach them certain values, and they get with their friends, and to be accepted, they become what you don't want them to become. And that's the reason why I controlled. And in America, my co-workers used to say to me, and some of them love the way I raised my children, others used to say, you're too controlling. I said, well, I have to be controlling because I work, I pay the bills, and they live in my house. But and they're going to do what I tell them to do.
Honestly, I don't even think it was controlling. Like being a teenager, I can look back and see like, okay, yeah, like every teenager finds loopholes to do what they want to do. Every teenager finds a way to get around the system, so to speak, that their parents established. But looking back at what I did find the loopholes for, in the grander scheme of things, it's like, I really didn't need to be engaged in that stuff anyway. Like, maybe one or two things. I'm like, okay, mom, you didn't have to be that uptight. But at the end of the day, that's the benefit of having a two-parent household where the personality is balanced. Because my mom is very much like, I'm running a tight ship here. Like, it is what it is. There really is no discussion here on certain things. But then there'll be other things where she's like more lax and stuff. But then my dad, for the most part, he's very fun-loving. He's very laid back. He would more so be the one like, look, let them, go out with their friends. Let them do this or do that. Like, because at the end of the day, they're children. They do need to experience some things. And so having that balance does help. But like I said, there were things where my dad would be stricter on, and my mom would be like, okay, like, that we could be a little looser here. And then my mom would have areas where she was strict on, and my dad would be like, okay, you can be a little looser here. So that balance helped because it didn't allow either one of them to go far off the deep end and you just feel like you're in a dictatorship or something like that. And I mean, honestly, for their age group too, because my parents are like the beginning of the baby boomers, 70, like they're pretty revolutionary. They're pretty, I would say, like contemporary for their generation. So a lot of things that other people their age group would be like, oh, I wouldn't do this or I wouldn't do that, or discussions that they wouldn't have with their kids. My parents had that with us. Like there was like nothing off the table for the most part. Like we had very candid conversations. They were very forward thinking, stuff like that. So I do think that is something that I can say. And then growing up Caribbean American too, like I would say that part, like if I'm comparing American culture versus Caribbean culture, yeah, you were definitely more strict in compared to American culture, because I grew up very Caribbean. So even though I was born here, like a lot of just how I see life, how I operate, all that, it's rooted in Caribbean culture, Guyanese culture specifically. So in that comparison, yes, you were definitely very strict. But in the grander scheme of things, I wouldn't say it was like, oh, I didn't feel like I could speak or be myself or whatever. Like I get my outspokenness from my mom. I get my, boldness from my mom. So I never felt stifled. I never felt like I had to pretend to be something I'm not or whatever. That's why I don't like to do that now with people. And I don't like to feel like I have to fit in a box or do that, because my parents they're not that type. I mean, you see my mom, she's not, I'm a fit in your box type of person. Like no. That's not her at all.
I don't fit into anybody's box.
Exactly.
I have a mind of my own.
Period. So I'm just like, for me, I'm definitely her in that sense, but I can see the differences because like Like, for instance, one thing that was not okay, or not common, let me not say not okay, but it wasn't common, was like sleepovers. So I had one sleepover in my entire life, and I only had two people come to my house. And it wasn't because I didn't invite more, I invited the whole class. But the school I was going to at that time, a lot of those people were very racist. I'm just going to call it like it is. You know, they didn't even watch my YouTube channel. And if they do, I said what I said. So, they were very racist. I got called the N-word. I got in fights. I mean, I went through it all. And so, because by the time I hit 7th grade, I was the only Black kid in my class. And so I had invited everybody, all the girls at least, to the sleepover, and a lot of them did not come. A lot of them made up excuses. You know when someone's making up an excuse. And a handful of them really had other stuff to do. And so two people came, my best friend and another girl. I'm not going to call names or nothing like that. But it was like, even then, it still wasn't like a typical sleepover. Like, it was, I don't even think they stayed that late or anything like that, like in the next morning or anything.
No, because I gave them a time to pick, because I knew they were all white, so I didn't want them to think that I keeping them, might do the children something. So I gave them a time, and the one girl that wasn't the best friend, she was just a friend in the class, and so the parents were very nice people, and they came about 9 o'clock. Because I told them I'm going to do breakfast and so. And I made a lot of things, but I knew it might have been, I said maybe 5. But it was 2, and they had a good time, because what I did is that Rondelle had a room, and they were given the guest bedroom, which was right next to Rondelle's room. And it had its own bathroom and everything, which I don't even think they sleep in it, because they were talking and laughing most of the night. So they probably were going from room to room. And the parents, they were very nice people, and it was around it was Christmas time, because I had to keep it in December, because November I couldn't do it because I had some other things to do. And so when they came, I had already decorated for Christmas, so the house was like it was like fairyland, because the lights were everywhere and stuff and whatever. And after that thing, I realized why they didn't come. One, because we are Black, and when the one young lady that came, her parents were talking to my husband, and while I was setting up for them upstairs and so on, and he asked my husband if the house was our house, if we bought it or we inherited it or whatever. And my husband said it's our house, and we could not have inherited it because we're from Guyana. That's one. And two, this is a new development. Every house in this development is brand new. No one lived in them but the people who are living here, because at the time the development was about 4 years old. And he said they're brand new, so no, it's our house. And he said, oh my goodness, it is so pretty. Yeah, he praised up and so on, whatever. And then they left. But I didn't, until afterwards, then I started to think. I said, that is why the others did not come, because it was a private school. All these people had homes, but why should we? That's the way I saw it. These Black folk that were born in America have such a big house and nice and new and everything else. But the development, the person who was the manager was from Liberia. He's African. And he told us that he made it his duty to make sure that any Black person that had the salary to think for the loan, that he would make sure that particular development is all Black people living there. And we started to laugh, because his wife was, after we met him, then I realized his wife was my older daughter Rochelle's teacher at one point. And I said, oh, why would you say that? He said, no, we are supposed to have something. He said, we have to start building communities. We have to get back to loving each other and wanting to see each other do well. He said, he said, I'm going to do it. He said, every person that lives here is going to be Black. And he did it.
Yeah, so to this day, that community is, I think, 99% Black.
Might have a few houses sold, and like the few of us that move, it's more, might find a Spanish person here and things. You probably got about maybe, I would say maybe 2% of other races, but it's still a Black neighborhood.
Yeah.
And they couldn't understand Black people living in such big houses. We didn't live in big houses because we were in a race to live in big houses. We lived in big houses because it was affordable. Back then, my house that I had then is now worth almost $1 million. Back then, it was no $1 million, and we had the salary to pay, and want your children to have room and stuff, and you want to do better. I grew up, as I said, my father was a member of parliament, a minister in the government. We had police outriders, and you name it. So I had a good life, and I just wanted. When I first came here, I didn't, you had to work your way up and so on. And once we got there, Luther and I decided that we are going to give our children the best our money can
That's
buy.
another thing I would say is a difference in Caribbean and American culture. And I'm painting with a broad stroke here because, like there's always the exception to the rule. You always got to put the disclaimers because it's the internet and people act like they don't have common sense. So you gotta put it out there. Y'all got common sense. I'm not saying y'all, but I'm just saying like the passersby that might see this video. So that's another difference though that I would say I've seen is that in general, Guyanese parents tend to Caribbean on the whole, but we're just saying Guyana, so we might interchange Guyanese Caribbean. You know what we mean? But Caribbean parents, they tend to really like invest in their children in the sense of like putting themselves on the back burner so that their children can get to that next level because it's culturally expected for the most part that even if you don't have in your older age, your children are going to take care of you. So it goes back to like those multi-generational homes. It's not the norm for you to like move out at 18 and stuff like that. If you move out, because people do move out, either they get a job out the way or they just decide they want to build a house on some family land or whatever. But it's typically later, like your mid-20s, mid to late 20s, you'll move out, that kind of thing if you're not married, because at that point you've gotten in your career, you've earned your money, like you're stable, you're wiser, you're more mature. So at that point you move out, but they're still accessible, or even if you aren't, somebody is accessible to your parents. Somebody is watching them, whether it's a cousin, another sibling, an auntie, an uncle, somebody, a neighbor that's like a family member. So because it's so communal, even down to the household demographic, it's like the parents don't feel as bad to say, you know what, I'm going to throw it all out there and just give to my kids because I know I'm going to be taken care of in older age versus like generally in American culture, I when I was growing up, I would find that the parents would be a little leery to like invest in their children. So they'll say like, well, I'm not going to pay for private school or I'm not going to even pay for college because they're going to do their thing and leave me high and dry. And I need to take care of me, and I'm not going to invest in certain things that they want to do or certain neighborhoods to live in because then they're going to grow up, they're going to get their friends, they're going to move out as soon as they hit 18, and even if they do well, they're not going to give me anything. So I need to make sure I'm good because the expectation is that you do that. You hit 18, you move out, you live your life, and it's every man for himself. And so with that in the back of their mind, they're like, well, I'm not going to overinvest versus like on the Caribbean side, it's like, look, we can risk a little bit more because somebody gonna take care of us, and they believe in having multiple children because of that. Because it's like even if you have that one or two rotten egg children, but you got 3 or 4 or 5 kids, somebody's gonna step up, or if not, the rest of them are gonna pull together and say, okay, like Jane and Bob, like they wild in, but the rest of us we gonna take care of mom and dad, like
It's a different culture. It's a different culture. You're not afraid, and for us, we remember we are immigrants. And you're in a land where you don't have cousin this, that if you don't have anything to cook, you go over and you're down the street because you're always walking, and you go down the street and you go, Auntie May, I ain't got nothing to cook today for them children. We got in the garden because everybody has a kitchen garden. Everybody has a kitchen garden. So they say, well, you don't have nothing to cook for your children, so why you stand up there telling me? With your lazy self, go to the back of the yard and see what's there and pick it off the tree. So you got okra going there, eggplant that we call balanje, you have bora, which is like string beans, and all this kind of stuff. And you go, you pick how much ever you want to cook. And then they would ask you, well, you got fish, you got beef, what do you have? Well, I just said, anything. It's not like a little sawfish or whatever you could do. It's a different lifestyle. So when you come here, and you see the way things operate, and as Rondelle said, this is no shade to anybody. We had a best friend, a good friend, a family friend, that lived in a house as big as ours. I think ours was a little bigger. And she did not have a finished basement. We had a finished basement because Luther said, that Junior is going to live in that basement, because we're not going to have a house and have him, gone with friends and living all over the place. So he finished the basement. He had his master bedroom, 1.5 baths, 2 bedrooms, bed, bar, all kinds of stuff there for his friends. He had the biggest TV in the house.
Yeah.
And we that's how we operate. But we realized that we cannot go to anybody, because when I said to her, "Oh, you're doing the basement," we went to a party, she told me she's doing the basement. So you're doing the basement. That would be nice. So is your daughter and husband and kids will come and stay there, because then they get to save money, and then they can buy their own home, and that's how they get to move up fast. I said, because the Indians do it, the Chinese do it, the Spanish people do it, everybody do it, and only we as Black people don't do it. And she said, "Oh no, they're not coming to live here. I have mine. You do get your own." I was about to say something. I quickly shut my mouth, because what was going to come out of my mouth was not going to be good. And for that reason, I didn't stay long at the party, and we left. And then when I got back in the car, I said to Luther, I said, "Did you hear that?" He said, "Yes, and I was hoping that you did not open your mouth and say something that you had not said in the house." I said, no, I caught myself in time. And that's when I start to realize, and as you're working and you're talking to people, they tell you, "You invested all that money on those children, they're going to get up in life, and they're not to save your money to have your retirement." They say, "Well, I work, I save my retirement to just saving his retirement." I said, and if push come to shove, and things really get bad, that we cannot retire here and live the life we are accustomed to, I said, "I have Guyana. I'll just go back home." Right now, my sister, the only one that lives in Guyana, she went back home a couple of years back. She's an accreditation officer. Every day when she talks to me, she gives me these long lectures about coming back home. Sister, can you come home? I'm going to take. I said, "You don't need to take care of me. I can take care of myself." She said, "Well, I don't mean that. But, come back home, man, and enjoy life. And I'm going to give you bush tea." They would pick these things in the yard, and go in the yard, different things and herbs and stuff, and they would make tea for different illnesses. She said, "Don't get bush tea," and she get rid of diabetes and all this stuff. I said, "I'm not coming. You have a husband, you stay, you mind your own business, leave me alone. I'm an adult." And they don't do it. But that's how we operate, because we had to make the foundation and have enough. Because if push comes to shove, who are you going to go and ask to help you out with a this or a that or that? And I didn't grow up without asking anybody for anything anyway. So that was not the life I'm accustomed to. And that's why we invest. Whereas I was told it so many times, over and over and over again, not to do it.
Yeah,
not to do
actual conversations with real life people. They're like, "Why are you investing? Like what?" And prime example, my best friend. So all of my best friends have Caribbean roots in some way, shape, or form. One of them, she's Guyanese and Liberian. The other one, she is Panamanian and American, and the other one is Dominican and American. But I'm speaking on the Dominican one in this case. The Dominican one, her dad every year, up until like COVID hit, basically, every year he would pay for all of them to go to Virginia Beach because they live in the DMV. And when I say all of them, I mean all of them. It's like 8 of them all together, and children, parents divorce, get married, all that. But all of them will come for the most part, whoever can make it, their spouses, their children, his siblings, his mom, their spouses, like nieces, nephews, like a house full of people. Her dad will pay for everybody, a house full of people. I'm talking like 20 people, 25 people, sometimes 15 people. He would cover everybody every year for this trip. And then they would bring like groceries or whatever the case may be. He would pay for like maybe 2 or 3 of the outings out of the week, because they would spend a week. And all of his coworkers would be like, "Why are you doing that? Like, your kids are grown. They could all put in their amount and this and that." He's like, "This is something I want to do. Like, I want to do this for my family so that they know that every year they get at least one trip that they don't have to worry about. Like, they can just come, show up with their kids, have a good time. Even if they don't do anything else, they're there. They could walk out to the pool in the backyard. They could go to the beach. Even if they can't afford to do any other excursions on their own, they know this is covered." So he was like, "That's something I want to do. I save up for it. I make the money for it." And that's just, again, like, it's very familial. It's very communal. He's Dominican. My other best friends, the one that's Guyanese and Liberian, she takes care of her mom. She moved her mom from Cali to Maryland so she could take better care of her. Like, when I say take care, I mean take care, like paying her bills, rent, all that, doctor expenses, all of it. And it's 6 of them all together. So the siblings, not all of them help, but like 1 or 2 others will help here or there. But she's the main one doing it. Because it's instilled, like, I'm not going to leave my parents high and dry. Like, if I got to take care of them, I got to take care of them, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. Me and my sister, we're in a position, or we've been in positions where we do that too, where that's why I'm building my mom's business. My mom don't be knowing half of what she doing. I'll be like, show up at this time, cook this, write this post, and not even write the post, just write the recipe.
She's talking, lady. The post. She don't know half of what she doing. Tell them the truth. Your mother don't see.
Like, the only thing, she cooks from memory. Like, that's why I be telling y'all, support when she puts out this stuff. Because my mom is practically blind in cooking and teaching classes and stuff. But she don't know what she's doing. I'll be like, just stand here, smile, okay, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, go.
And then, I don't know anything about any internet. Y'all tell me, which old woman that is 70 years old know anything about any internet? I mean, a lot of us could them know to go and gossip because they got their friends and they're gossiping about the children and the neighbor and the person in church. But I don't know anything about it. So why would you think I would know anything? So I just
the most she does is obviously be in the picture, because she got to be in the picture. Every now and then I got to capture an arm, a shoulder, something. So people are like, it's not like, oh yeah, Mama Martin. Yeah, like, no, she's actually a person. She's actually,
yes. And people, so, I have that business, and most of the followers and they don't know what I look like, because
I told them we about to start going live, because people don't want to see me. I be hopping on live doing that. They're like, damn, we already see you on Delle and Rondelle Martin. Now we see you here too. Like, so I'm like, we gonna put your face out there. So she shows up for the content. And then depending on the caption, because I try to share Guyanese culture, or there's certain foods that I just don't know, like all the ingredients and stuff. So she'll tell me like what to put in the caption. And then I'll rephrase it so that it works for the internet. And then I'll take it from there. But other than what to put in the captions and her showing up, I'm doing all the rest of the stuff. Like, so she don't, but I'm building it because I'm like, at the end of the day, this is something my mom always wanted to do. She used to have a restaurant and stuff. And then she sacrificed so much for me. And I'm like, even when she passes on, then this will be something that lives on past her. Like, we'll always remember Mama Martin, even when she's passed on, because it's like, we'll have the ebooks, we'll have the merchandise, we'll have even these videos here to look back on and say like, yeah, like she was here. Wait, your mom has a YouTube channel? No, not yet. So Kendall, you just all in my mind. Kendall's the one that we trying to lose weight, and we just keep restarting every week because we're
trying to lose weight.
Yes.
Is she like you lose weight? You tell me, don't cook no rice. And then
I don't think she's as bad. I don't think she's as bad. Oh, okay. But either way, we're a hot mess when that's concerned. But my mom's when I get monetized, I'm gonna make my mom a YouTube channel. So that's another reason why I'm pushing to get my channel monetized this year. Because 1, I'm so close, I could taste it, I could feel it in my fingertips. And 2, I'm like, once I'm monetized, then not only can I produce more content here, but I can make her channel and funnel y'all there and list it as one of my featured channels. And then she'll be able to go live, do cooking shows, just pop up, talk, like do the fun stuff and not just always have to necessarily plan something, like, just show up.
I did 2 shows, 2 cooking shows live, and it did very well because a lot of people signed up for it, and they bought the tickets and stuff, and I did. But then when I asked her again, she said, you know what? This thing is stressful. You got to go to the store. Well, I wasn't going to any store because when I did it was during the COVID time.
Yeah, and the stores that we need to go to get the ingredients is across town. We got to go an hour.
Yeah, to get the stuff. And then she said, you got to put all this stuff together. She said, this thing is stressful. You want to do this thing every other week? I said, well, why not? She said, Mom, you don't see well. And you're doing this thing from memory, telling people what to write for the recipe and all this kind of stuff. She said, get off of this thing and let's start doing something different.
Yeah, something that you don't have to always show up. So that's they're like, we need a Mama Martin channel. It's coming, y'all. It's coming by the end of the year. It's gonna be made, and we just keep this momentum. So that's that. But that's my Guyanese friend. And then the one that's Panamanian and American, she still lives with her parents, and she's a mom like me, a single mom and all that. So it's like, it's just different. Like, the culture is different. You're not expected to move out. And I actually want to go back because one of my subscribers, DreamWorks Creatives, She said some parents here are also ready to shove kids out the door. And I was like, listen, that's true.
Kids.
But that's the thing. And it's like we buy into the hype of, in this country, we largely buy into the hype of you hit 18, you got to go and get it. Like, first of all, who made that rule that you have to move out at 18?
It's a lie.
Like, who started that? And that's what I was about to say. As a Black community, we jump on the bandwagon with that. But when you look at our non-Black counterparts, they're not necessarily doing that. Because trust me, I don't work with some of like my old white coworkers or, you know, Asian coworkers or whatever, and they were still living at home past 18, you know, or even if they weren't living at home, they were living with somebody, like maybe an aunt, or they had a lot of roommates. They weren't on this whole, like, I gotta be completely independent type of thing. And I'm just like, why do we have to do that? Like, who made up that rule that, like,
some evil person?
Yeah, it makes no sense. When you're 18, you're not in the mindset to move out. You're definitely not in the financial state to move out. You know, that's how you get caught up in credit cards, and you end up in credit card debt. You end up doing a bunch of stuff you have no business doing. It's just a hot mess. It's like, what's the rush? I feel like in the Caribbean, it's like, as long as you're doing something with your life, you're good. And I mean, the thing is, a lot of them in the Caribbean, they're working jobs. Like, they're accountants, they're doctors, they're lawyers, they're teachers, nurses, but there's no push like, oh, okay, you got your career, you got to move out. It's like, if you want to move out, cool, but you're good staying here.
They never encouraged us, really. They would throw a damper on it. The first thing they say, you want to move because you want to have your own way. You want to go there and do whatever you want to do, but I'm going to be hunting you down. So when you play the fool right in front of your friends, I'd slap you up, because that's the way they used to. You were never too old for your parents to give you one slap across the mouth if you get out of hand. Why are we pushing our children out there? Rondelle is she's bent on doing this business. And she said, you know why I'm doing all this stuff? It's because you're bougie, and I don't want, when you come, you want something, you come and ask me for it, and I ain't got it to
That's my thing.
I like blah. I said,
I like to have resources. And my thing is like, you know, so this is another thing, being Caribbean American. So on the Caribbean side, it's like, don't move out, or you shouldn't move out. They might not always throw hot water on it, but they might just be like, you know, like, you could stay here if you want. But on the American side, I can understand, like, you know, why a lot of people move out, because one, their parents are getting on their last nerve. They're like, I gotta get up out of here. A lot of people live in toxic environments. They won't have any sort of leeway to formulate their own decisions or live their own life. So for me, even though I've moved back, because I have lived on my own at one point for a couple of years, but I moved back, I still have free, like, I still come and go pretty much as I please. I still do what I want to do. Like, you know, I don't feel like I don't have room to do me, if that makes sense. Like, we cohabitate well. But a lot of the people that I know that are American, they're like, well, I would love to do it, but I can't do it because my mom will be trying to tell me what to do all the time. She'll be in my pocket. She'll be asking me for money 24/7. She'll be doing this and that.
The reason why you let your children stay at home is for them to be able to build. My dream was always, when my children move out of my house, they must buy a house of their own.
That's my next goal.
Rondelle came back, and she was 6 years now.
Yeah, 2015. Yeah.
Yes. And I would tell her,
and I came this close to buying a house, me and my sister, and then we thought better of it.
Yes, because it was getting too expensive. It was $500,000.
It didn't start that expensive though, because they were like, "Oh yeah, you got to pay for the door, you got to pay for the window, you got to pay for the garage, you got to pay for the walkway to the garage. It's just like, dang, like, what are you giving me? 4 pillars?"
Exactly. And I'm watching at the stuff because I'm there with them. And say, "Mama, what we want in the house?" I said, "Every window we put in, we have to pay for it. You see, these people ain't giving you no windows free. They're giving you 4 walls with no windows, no doors, and you have to pay extra for everything, the garage, whatever." Anyway, they build the house. They build the house on paper. We went and we pick out everything. They said, pick out what you want for the bathrooms. It was going to be nice, 5 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, whatever. And then I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, you know, you old, Luther old. Y'all ain't getting no serious money to help anybody with anything. If they can't pay for this house, who pays for it?
And even with that goes back to also just a communal way of living, because my sister and I could have been like, all right, we'll get a little condo, because that neighborhood is still in Stafford, Virginia. It's very nice. Emory Mill. If you're in Virginia, go check it out. If you're in Virginia, go check it out. And it's even more built up now. But they had everything from condo style, like townhome style condos, to townhomes, to like regular single family homes, and then like the homes kind of bordering estate size, not all the way estate, but like the bigger ones to the back. And so my sister and I could have been like, oh, we'll just get a townhome style condo, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bath, call it a day, because it's just me and her. Didn't have Christian yet at the time. or none of that. But we were going for a multi-generational home. This is the first model in this community, honestly, that I had ever seen from this builder, any builder, where it was literally categorized as multi-generational, meaning every floor was like its own apartment in a way, minus the kitchen. Like you got to come to the main floor for the kitchen and stuff like that. But you could put a laundry room on every floor. You could put a kitchenette. You can't have the full like sink or whatever because of coding and regulation, but you could put a kitchenette. It had, its own everything, its own living room, all that. Like
everything
it
was
just
beautiful,
its own,
but costly.
But it was getting too high. But we were thinking like, okay, like if we buy this, it can be a family home. If mom and dad, they were going to move in with us, but like, let's say one of us gets married and we don't want to necessarily move out. You still got another floor that's like your own apartment type of thing or whatever. And you don't have to rush out. So that way you could practice group economics, which is something else I want to talk on, how y'all used to throw box. We call it throwing box.
I miss that. I miss it.
So, but all of that, that's why the multi-generational living and communal living are so powerful, because you're able to practice group economics. And y'all, and we're not talking about that rinky-dink susu that was going around last year. And I'm sure y'all done heard about that. That ain't the real susu. Yeah, that ain't the real susu. That was some fake susu. No, we're talking about the real old school traditional susu that is done in the Caribbean and Africa and whatnot. But it's very powerful. That's how my parents bought our house. And I remember growing up and going with them to the box holder's house. Is it the box holder?
Yeah, Sharon.
Yeah, the box holder's house, and picking up the money. And so I'll let my mom describe it in a little bit. But let me read some of these comments before I hop in. I hate I'm missing your boot camp, but that's a whole nother story. Kendall, you all on a whole nother I just love how you were helping your mom. There's gonna be another boot camp. That's gonna be a more regular product. My flagship program is gonna be once a year. She's in Michigan.
Oh, she doesn't live in Georgia. Let's invite her over for dinner.
No, she gonna come because she's really from Alabama. I told her she needs to come. I'm planning a meet and greet hopefully by next year. I moved out at 23. I know, but see, that's not too bad. 23, depending on what you're like, your maturity level, if you get a career, that could work. I didn't move. Did I move out at 23? I think I did too.
It was 2012.
How old was I?
Oh, you then?
I don't know. I'm getting too old. I'm like, wait.
88 to 23.
Yeah, I was 23. Yeah, I was 23. Yeah, 23 so I moved out at 23 too. So, and that worked for me because I had just graduated 2 years before, and I was like settled in my career at this point because they had brought me on full time. I had made it to GS9, I think, at this point, about to be an 11 or something. So I was really good. I was like, okay, cool. Like, and at that time it was so much cheaper. Like, it's crazy how fast things go. Just 9 years later. And I'm like, oh, Lord have mercy. Yes, that is so true. Or like me, my dumb self, I didn't have to leave, but I did. Dumb. That was Kindle. Yeah. And I wanted the experience. I was like, I remember I shared this on my video I premiered on Tuesday. I was like, when I wanted to move out, and remember that first time I told you I was moving out? Yes. My mom cried. If you missed that video, go watch it, because I shared things I love, the 5 best things I love about growing up Caribbean American. My mom's not a crier. She was never like I spilled the milk. Like, she's not a crier, but she actually sat on my bed and was like, how did I fail you? Why are you moving out? You're going to go out here and struggle. And I'm like, Mom, I'm literally moving like 15 minutes away. And at this point, this community was really affordable, because now I can't afford to live in that part of DC because it's completely gentrified. But I was going to move in at the beginning of the gentrification, when it was like, this is your last chance to get in at an affordable rate. So I'm like, if I get in now, I'll be in a good part of town and I'll be at the rate that it was, grandfathered in. Because I'm like, give it a couple years, I won't be able to afford it. And it's a couple years, and I can't even afford to park in that neighborhood because they don't took it over.
But I felt that she was going to run into problems, and she did. Not in a bad way, but if Rondelle had stayed at home, and Rondelle's salary was almost $100,000. She doesn't have a master's. She has a bachelor's. Rochelle has a master's. She made more money more than Rochelle. The girl, you see how the girl could talk. She could sell. They used to tell me when I was young, and I could sell Jesus off the cross. If she was living in Ghana, they would have told her the same thing. And if she had stayed, I said, I know you want the experience, but I'm telling you, you're not ready for it, because you have to pay everything. You hear? Your father and I pay the bills because we don't need any help from you, because we're making our money. We're 6-figure earners, so we don't need your money. You can save. And if anything, your father can co-sign for you, or whatever we can do, or you can. But she wanted the experience. And then when she fed up of spending all of our money, paying our money for car and this and that. She said, you know what? This is nonsense.
Because it was taking a toll on me. And the thing about it is like, if I had stayed on my job, I probably would have stayed living on my own. But I knew I was going to leave the government because all of that coupled with living on my own was taking a toll on my mental health. Because it's like when you live on your own, you don't have that wiggle room to say, I'm going to take a chance and pursue my purpose. So I'm going to take a chance and just dive into business because you got to pay that rent. So it's like you feel stuck. And now I started to feel like a slave to the job because it's just like, hey, Ebony, hey, I'm glad you joined the live. You start to feel like a slave to the job because it's like, I gotta be here because I gotta pay this rent, but I'm going to work. I'm depressed. I'm crying. I literally don't want to get out of bed. I'm diabetic. I'm morbidly obese. I mean, I'm listing off stuff that I was actually living through. And so I knew I was going to leave and I was like, okay, I can either leave and try to find another job real quick just to make ends meet and stay afloat, or I can just move back home and really just get things going and, you know, maybe try to buy a house with my savings or whatever the case may be, which we tried. But like we said, it started to get too expensive. Mm-hmm. And so I decided to move back home. And then it just so happened that my dad got really sick, almost died too. And then it really became a toll because I was already stressed over bills. I was already stressed over, you know, my job. And then now my day is so much more stressful because I'm driving from my job to this part of Virginia, to that part of Virginia, back down an hour and plus south to my house, and then have to get up at 3 a.m. to do it all. Like, it was a lot. So I'm like, I might as well be living in the same place because I got to be taking my mom to the hospital, picking her back up, doing this, doing that, driving back home, waking up, going to work, like, you know, and all that traffic and gas.
I needed her to come to the hospital every day because I needed her to take Rochelle home because, you know, I decided I'm going to live there. So I pretty much moved in at the hospital because I wanted to make sure they were doing what I wanted them to do because he was in ICU and they said I can stay there. So if she doesn't come, Junior would come, but Junior came at a different time. And when she came, she would take Rochelle home so that because they're both going to work in DC. And so she driving, you know, that was very important that she be present. And then when she finally said, well, you know, once he came out of the hospital, so on and thing, and then she said, Mom, if I come back home, can I come back home? I said, why would you ask that's a stupid question.
I know she was probably like, woohoo, she's coming back home on the inside. You can
always come back home. I said, like, you know, mothers out there. I said, I told you so. I knew this was going to happen. I said, you could have been here.
Actually, I should say I almost bought a house twice because when I was with my ex-fiance, we were living together and we almost bought, but then we were like, yeah, we're good. Like, I'm good. Like, because the house ended up, yeah, because honestly, the person selling the house, it was seeming kind of shady and scammy. And we were just like, And then that part that we're going to buy in now isn't as nice as it used to be. There's been a lot of like change in that neighborhood. Crime has gone up. So I'm glad we ended up not doing it. And then clearly we didn't get married because sis is still single. So that was that. But, you know, I'm just like, needless to say, the communal living, the multi-generational living, it really helps. So let me read some of these comments real quick before we continue. Kendall said slap me because that's the only way I learned with my stubborn self. Listen, you know, but I am glad that I did get the experience because it taught me hustle. It taught me like how to get things done, how to just be innovative and really just think quick on. I mean, I was always able to think quick on my feet, but it really took me to that next level, you know, so I know that I can run a house on my own if I have to. I joined the Air Force at age 23. Oh, okay. Thank you for your service.
Yes.
Thanks. I joined right after college. That's why I left. Oh, you left home right after college. Listen, I feel that. Hey, Ebony, are y'all in Delmarva? I used to be stationed at Dover Air Force Base. I love that area. That's where I grew up. So I grew up in PG County, and we lived in. So when I was born, my parents lived in Beltsville, Maryland, and then when I was like 10, 11, I think I was 11, we moved to Lanham, and then Lanham, Maryland. And then we lost that house with the mortgage crisis and all that stuff going on. And then we lived in DC for a short stint by like Howard University, Euclid, and 14th by Cardozo. And then we moved to Bowie, Maryland. And then we moved to Virginia after that. We moved to Alexandria. And then I stayed, they stayed basically in the same spot in Alexandria until we moved to, where did we move to after that?
Springfield.
Yeah, Springfield. But after Springfield, then my dad left, went to Guyana and stuff, and then we moved to Spotsylvania, Virginia, before we moved down here. But I had moved out of Alexandria, moved to Woodbridge, but the part near Dumfries, actually literally down the street from where Ebony lives right now. I lived there for a year or some change, and then I moved back up to Alexandria. So I've done a little bit more moving myself, and then I lived in my own apartment in the same complex that we lived in Alexandria. So yeah, I've moved quite a few times, probably about 10, 12 times in my life.
Yeah,
but
before we moved to Spotsylvania, after the $500,000 house, which made absolutely no sense, we were going to, when we moved to Spotsylvania, Luther had already been taken to Guyana to stay with my sister. And we were going to buy a house in Fredericksburg, go through the whole thing, another house. And then is when Rachel found out that she had identity theft.
Yeah, that was a whole other thing.
And that was a whole mess. And the FBI and the records and the searching to try to figure out. I don't even know if they figured, because up to about 2 years ago, they were still working on it.
Yeah. So Ebony said, wish you were still here. We would be cutting up. I'm like, yep, on a daily basis. Because literally I would have been down the street if I was still in that area. So, but needless to say, there was something I was going to let you talk about and then I forgot because we got on a tangent. Anybody in the comments remember? Because there was something I said I wanted you to elaborate on when we were talking earlier. But, okay, so you want to continue sharing some more differences?
Yes, as you know, we're talking about children, pushing your children out. You know, I know some of you on listening right now, you have kids. Don't let anybody tell you how to raise your children.
Nope.
People were mad at me because every year these people that were mad at me weren't even related to me. And I'm trying to think, well, how you get into my business. Like, every year they went. We sent them on vacations, and they went to London and all over the place. And Rochelle, she went on a trip with it. That was a nationwide thing where you go as ambassadors. And when she went as an ambassador, she went to Italy, Austria, and Hungary. But Rondelle didn't get to go as the ambassador when it was her turn, because by then we had 9/11 and the whole madness, and nobody was sending their children anywhere. So no adults were going anywhere to carry anybody. So that program was gone. And I enjoyed raising my children. As I said, Mother's Day, for the Mother's Day live. The concerts, Rondelle, well, she sang the gospel choir and camerata. So we used to travel with her. We used to go to the pumpkin patch. Luther would that's the only time that man used to take a day off for work to go to the pumpkin patch with the class. I said, but why? He said, because it's just fun. This big wide open space and all the kids and watching too. You know, we had a lot of fun. I went on class trips. I kept my personal days for class trips. And I also told my job that you don't get to tell me when I go out with my children. This is just a job. And I can leave it anytime and I'll get another one. So you don't get to tell me what to do with my children. As long as I have the time and I do my work, you stay out of my business. So people used to, they didn't like me. And a lot of people don't like me. But they always respected me because I'm a no-nonsense person. What you see is what you get. And if you have to hear it and nobody else wants to tell it, I'm going to tell you. So you don't have to speak to me afterwards because I really do not care. So I used to go out to all these because it was fun. And I have now, a lot of days I'm sitting downstairs in the kitchen. If I had finished cooking, and Rondelle is in our office, in our room doing her stuff.
I call my office.
Rochelle doing our things, trying to get the thing with Christian, of course, said with Rochelle because he gets too busy for me because I'm too old for the activity. I'm sitting down there and I'm smiling to myself sometimes, remembering when Mrs. Edwards would do the Christmas concerts for Rondelle's school, not the class, because she was a music teacher for every class. So she would bring this whole school together for this concert. But when she got to the younger ones, you're sitting down there and you want to laugh, but you cannot laugh because you're a parent. You're supposed to jump up and clap and be excited. The wrong notes and the violin and the awful singing and who's tired just decide to sit down on the stage and they don't want to stand up anymore. You don't get that when you get old, because I don't have any little children and I will never have little children ever again. You enjoy your children. You raise your children to love you and the entire family. And another thing we used to do, which is different too, I don't know of anybody that I know in America over my working years and whatever that ever said they did this. When we got paid, back in the good old days, you got the check. And then you got to go to the bank and all the nonsense you had to do. It was a long procedure to get it cashed. When we got our checks and we cashed it, we called our children. Yeah. And we told them how much is our check.
That was our first mathematics lessons. We used to count my dad's checks and my mom's checks because this is before direct deposit. So we used to count the cash, and they used to tell us flat out. That's why I said earlier in the live, like they were very new age for their age group. It was no secrets of like, oh, we're gonna just try to keep it quiet and make them feel like we can afford everything. They were like, no, this, how much money is that? Okay, you counted $1,700. How many people are in this house? 5 people. So that's how much gotta last for 2 weeks. So don't be asking us for this. Like, they were very flat out, like, we gotta pay the rent with that, we gotta buy food, we gotta pay for this, gotta pay for that. Like, I don't even know how we survived. Like, looking back at it, because I always went to private school. I never went to public school ever. My brother started public school and then went to private school. And my sister, she had to do public at the time because she was special education. So me and my best friend, the Dominican one, we were talking about that the other day, and we were like, our parents really sacrificed. Like, they were paying college tuition for our whole school career, from kindergarten, daycare sometimes, all the way through high school. And we're looking back and we're like, how are we even alive? Like, how do we have a roof over our head? We were always eating. We were always eating. We traveled. And like my mom said, we traveled overseas. So that was another thing too, growing up Caribbean American. Real quick side note, a lot of people, when they hear that, they're like, oh, you grew up spoiled, you grew up privileged, you went to the Caribbean and this and that. It's like, I went there because auntie so-and-so and uncle so-and-so is there. So I'm not going and I'm on beaches resort, living my best life, sipping pina coladas. Like, I'm at auntie's house, probably helping her cook dinner, probably helping her run errands. Like, you know, like, and they had to take us out. So whatever we ended up doing was in their hands. Some of those vacations were a hit or miss. Some of them, it was like, yeah, this is great. We saw the Keys. We did this, we did that. Other vacations, like, listen, like, if I went to one more person's house and ate dinner, like, you know, like, I didn't see nothing. All I saw was people's dinner tables and kitchen, taking out the trash. Like,
because you take them around. You have to go with them because these girls are Sister Connie's children.
And then, you know, older people, when you go anywhere with older people, they talk your head off. This is why to this day, like, if I'm in town, I fly under the radar. If I know, like, even when I went to DC, I started telling people, and then I remembered, I was like, you know what, let me scale it back, because everybody was like, oh my gosh, we gotta hang out. I was like, I'm not gonna have time to do anything. I barely had time to even see my brother, because when I got to his house in April, he was like, oh yeah, sis, we gonna do this, do that. I was like, do this, do that. I got an itinerary. I'm about to hop in the shower. I gotta go meet this person. I gotta go do this and that. So his girlfriend was like, she's on the world tour. She got a whole schedule. Like, she ain't got time for us. I'm just here to use your shower and eat your food. That's it. And I'm not even really eating your food because everybody's taking me to lunch or dinner. I'm just here to lay my head and shower and get up out of here and go do what I gotta do. So that's what it was always like. It's like, you're going to see auntie so-and-so, cousin this and that, and then they talk and they're like, oh, you want some sorrel, you want some black cake, you want this, oh girl, I haven't seen so-and-so in so long, how are they doing? And me and my sister are like, we want to go somewhere. I'm 14 years old. I'm 12. Like, take me to the beach. Take me somewhere, please. Like,
was the best on Auntie Karen.
Yeah, Auntie Karen and Auntie Roxanne, hands down. Anybody else, I love y'all, but it was a hit or miss. It was like, okay, we don't. It's a gamble. It might be an active trip. We might just be going to house runs and just listening to people.
Karen and Roxanne used to plan
that might be it.
3 weeks of itinerary all over the place. The best of the best. Simone, she could carry from house to house to meet this person, and then you're having dinner with these people. You don't even know these people, but you got a trip. That's the way they say. You got a trip. But it's a different. You do not push your children. No, don't push your children. If anybody tell you that, you tell them that in June, today is the 17th, right?
Yeah.
June the 17th, 2021. You will listen to a loudmouth old woman from Guyana who told you not to do it.
You see the hand movement.
And you just mind your own business and don't tell me how to raise my children.
She gathered y'all with that one. She said, you listen to she meant that. She said,
tell them, mind your business. These are my kids I'm going to do what I want to do. It's none of
That's
your
the thing, because
business.
everybody and their grandmother got an opinion, but are you here when these bills got to get paid? Are you here when these kids need to be raised? Like, everybody got an
Don't
opinion.
push your children out.
And
When
for
you
what?
have the conversation with them until
Yeah.
it is necessary.
Because at the end of the day, like I said, I think I said it in the video, or if it wasn't a live stream or something I put up recently, but Rose and Pink said that came from the soul. When that hand comes up, edges are snatched, souls have been snatched. She's mind the business that pays you. That's what Ebony said. Ebony is living her best life through you because she is a firecracker. That's why we bond so well, because we both said what we said. It's just that energy with us. but it's like, you know, people, they have everything in the book to say. And at the end of the day, I said it on a recent live or video. I was like, I wouldn't be able to even accomplish all that I've done in business had I been living on my own in this state. Now, if I was still in Virginia, I probably would be good because I know Virginia, it wouldn't have been as much of a shock in like overcoming so many hurdles and stuff. But if I had made this move to Atlanta by myself, y'all, like I would be on Skid Row right now. I would, like, real talk, I would be struggling. So the fact, especially after COVID, like y'all, so being in a multi-generational home, group economics, splitting the money, you know, and just kind of like, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. It is a huge blessing. Like, it allows me to even focus in, because a lot of the stuff that, like, taking it back to my mom's business, a lot of the stuff that I planned for her business, I'm taking that out of my money. I'm looking at what I'm going to make over the next 3 to 6 months. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to get this from the government. I'm going to get this from this program. I'm going to get this from this client, my projections, my goals. And if I meet these goals, this is how I'm going to split the money. I'm going to invest in this for my mom. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do. So she ain't got to worry about that. She can worry about this bill or that bill. My sister, she's getting different work at home opportunities and stuff. So keep her in prayer for that. But she can now look and say, okay, Rondelle's got this, mom's got that. I need to work on this, this, and this for myself, but then I can also work on this, that, and that. And you can like pull together. Business, yeah, even for the trip in July. Rochelle ain't paying for that. That's me, my brother, and my brother's girlfriend.
And she's so happy.
Yeah, she's like, yes.
She's always, every year.
The last few years she had to pay. And there's been times where I covered my mom's fare to go on the trip, and my dad, you know, if we went on a cruise or whatever, I'm like, I got you. Like, because it's not, oh, this is mine, I gotta lock it off. It's like, we respect each other. So it's not like, oh, every dollar you get, I'm entitled to it. It's like, no, you're an adult. You got things to do. There's things I want to do for myself. Like, I want to eventually get my own place again, but buy a condo. I don't want to buy anything too big or whatever, because I don't know where I'm going to end up. I'm probably going to end up being a world citizen at this point. I don't know where I'm going to end up living in a couple of years. It's up in the air. But there's investments I want to make. There's stuff I want to do for me and Christian. So it's allowing me the freedom to do that and say, like, okay, and I communicate that with them. That's the thing. This is what makes multi-generational living work. You got to communicate and you got to respect the other person. So they got to respect that I'm at any point gonna make a decision that could possibly change the dynamic, meaning I can get married. I can say I want to go get my own spot. I want to, I don't know, get an opportunity and move to Timbuktu when I move to like, you know, it can change at any minute. So you respect that person's autonomy and that freedom, but you communicate those things like, this is my goal. These are my goals. This is what I want to do. Excuse me. But these are our family goals. So as a collective unit, we would like to get to this point or that point, but we want to be in that space where if one person's dynamic does change, everything doesn't come crashing down. So if I do get married, if I do get my own spot and I move across the country or whatever ends up happening, my sister and my mom can survive. And it's not like, oh my gosh, we can't live without you. Or if my mom's like, I'm going back to Guyana, my sister and I can be like, okay, cool. Like, go back. Or I want to move back to Maryland and stay with your brother. Okay, cool. Do that. Like, you know, if my sister gets an opportunity, she can do that. And it's like, but a lot of people don't know how to work together in that way. Especially if they haven't seen it. So culturally, like I said, in the Caribbean, I've seen it. And I think it just becomes like second nature. And you always have your exceptions. Trust me, there are families in the Caribbean that are dysfunctional, don't respect each other, be robbing money from each other and all types of stuff. Like, it ain't no cakewalk. You know, it really depends on the character of the people at the end of the day. But generally speaking, I've seen multi-generational living work more so than not work. But you're always going to have those bad apples. There's always those people that are going to ruin it. And so I think if people got more exposure to it and saw healthy examples, they'll be like, you know what, like, we could live together as a family. And you've been seeing, I don't know about you guys, but I know for me, I've been seeing an increase in multi-generational living in the States in the last 5 to 10 years, like people moving back home or people intentionally building bigger homes, or even just like buying land and building multiple homes on the property. Because if you have a couple acres, you can fit fit like 2 homes, you know, three
Well, yeah,
three homes if you have a lot of
if you
acres.
have like 2 acres,
So
now you want just one house, you could put 3 houses on
and
that.
so it's like you still got your home, but you guys are like a stone's throw away. So you can still practice group economics, but in that case, it's even better because you own the land. Which I mean, in certain parts of the country, it's hard to do that because of zoning and stuff. But in the South, that's pretty popular. Like a lot of people own the land that they live on and stuff. So if you have a lot of acres, like build a couple of homes, so that way you still get your home, but you're sharing. So you know, sharing the burden, I guess you could say, or the financial
start together. So
yeah,
that's the key. You start together, and that's how Indians I'm talking about
from
Indian
India.
people from India and
Guyana,
even from the Caribbean, because the Caribbean ones they still practice that.
Yeah,
the community living.
I always make the differentiation because you know here when people say Indian, they mean like Native American.
Oh, Native American.
So when
East Indians,
when I speak on Guyana, I say from India because most of the country is of Indian descent from India.
Yes.
So
and how they do it is, you know, you of course you have your family home that you grew up in, and the oldest one get well in whatever order, because sometimes the younger ones might get married before the older one. But when they get married, the girls, when they get married, they go to live with their mother-in-law and they go to their husband's family. But it always ends up with community living. And what they do, the reason why they do that is because these people believe in owning land and houses. According to Ghana, they believe in house and land. So you as you get married, whoever is the first to get married, you start working towards that person to help them to move out to their homes. Then after that person, the next one and the next one, because according to how you get married, that's how they help you to buy a home, because you're starting to have a family. But in the meantime, while you are working and you're saving, and you have to talk to your parents, whoever is the parent in the home. You talk to your parents. They're not only communion, they're strict. The parents have to know how much money you're making, because there is a plan. This is not to rob anybody. This is a plan.
Healthy parents.
And yes, well, they got the ones who take your money. You never hear from me.
Act accordingly. Govern yourselves accordingly. But yeah.
and they have a plan. And they're sitting there and advising you, well, okay, you have all this money that you make. We are paying for the mortgage, or we already pay off for this house. You're living here. You do not have to pay rent. You might be paying the light bill, this one paying the water bill. You know, people take turns in buying food because you could. Now, whoever is the oldest person in the house, which would be the mother, she does the cooking. Sometimes they ask you where you want to eat. Sometimes they don't ask you.
Most times you don't.
I don't ask anybody. This is what they want to eat. I just cook what I feel like cooking. Sometimes I don't even want to eat it, but I cook it because I know they like it and I cook it. And you come home from work. Nana is there. The dinner on the table. The Indian people must have dinner together at night. You sit at the table. You eat. You talk. Whatever confidential stuff. You're not going to talk in front of your little brother, your little sister, because they got tricks. And they got some kind of stuff that they're thinking about. One thing where they come to you behind the parents' back or whatever. You don't have time for the foolishness, because you have to be saving to get your house. And you work with the parents. She's there taking care of the kids.
Yeah, because listen, like if I didn't live with them, childcare, especially the way I work and how my days aren't predictable. I can't be like, oh, okay, I'm going to drop them off 8 a.m., pick them up 4 p.m. Like I don't work at 9 to 5, so you never know what it's going to be like. And then honestly, in this day and age, like you got to be extra careful, because there's a lot of crazy people out here, and you got to be careful who you expose your children to. So, you know, as long as your family isn't toxic and dangerous or whatever, like you can't beat having family watch them and having those elders there to help. That's another reason why, like my mom was saying, they do multi-generational living, because it's like, you ain't got to pay a sitter. Like where are the elders going? They retired. Like they ain't going nowhere. They're there.
You don't want to go. Sometimes if I still had 100% of my sight, I would have been driving and going to the store if I have to. Well,
but you would have been
going any place.
But you would have been taking Christian, because when my older nephew was small, he used to be everywhere with my mom. Like when my mom used to pick me up at school before I got my, obviously a license and my own car, whatever. He used to be in the back seat a lot of times, at the store, like all of that, right on her side.
Everywhere I went, I took him. And then people knew that he was my grandchild because nobody would look at me and think, well, there are people who think he's your child, but anybody with common sense would know that he was not my child, he was my grandchild. I took Skip everywhere, everywhere. Yeah. And that's what you do. And so you're helping so that your children could be better than what you had. You get more when you get a start. And so you then when the first one get their house and they move out, then there's the big celebration and everything, and they go down the line. So by the time, maybe a parent might die before you get to the end, if it's a lot of kids. But if it's not a whole lot of kids, you get to the end, everybody got a home.
And these homes are nice. Like when I was in Guyana, when we were in Guyana last time, it was like end of 2017 into early 2018. Me and my aunt and her significant other and my uncle and Christian, we went joyriding. Like we were just aimlessly driving around, and we ended up going to this part of Guyana called towards Berbice, where my dad is from. And that's, what is that? The West Coast? East Coast?
No, that's East Coast.
Okay, so East Coast. So we ended up going towards the East Coast, which is Berbice, just driving down the highway and stuff like that. And the further you get towards the East Coast from the city where we were staying, and Georgetown, the capital, and all that, you start to see these villages that are pretty much 100% Indian, and you can tell when you get there, because these homes, y'all, these homes are freaking mansions, okay? Like humongous homes, and 3-story, 4-story. Sometimes they look like 2 mansions attached with a vestibule, like those fancy walkways that you see on those big like castle type things. Yes. And they are huge. I'm talking columns, marble, all of that. But it's a multi-generational living. So it's not one family living in those things. It's probably at least 3 or 4 families living, but it's so big that they have the space. It's like you don't even really feel like you're living with anybody else.
They have 2 kitchens,
2 kitchens, 3 garage sections. Like just amazing. I mean, we were literally looking out the window. We're like, "Dang, look at that house! Wow, look at that house over there! Woo, look at that!" Like we were just like, we were so taken aback. They were so gorgeous. And then if they have businesses, a lot of them will have the business right underneath or in the front. So they might have the house in the back and then like a little smaller building in the front where they sell food or whatever. Because it's nothing to start a business in Guyana. You could throw up a shack and start. So they would put up a little shop and sell their rice or their wood. Because in those parts you find a lot of rice fields and stuff. They'll sell their rice or lumber or little knickknacks, chips, and things like that.
License to do it.
Yeah, so and so they're able to make their money and live right there and pull their resources together, and everybody's in the business. And even if they branch out and start other businesses, it's still a family-run business. I mean, listen, group economics is a game changer.
We have got to get back to that because
it is a game changer.
In the good old days in Africa, that's our roots.
I'm trying to find
some of us had ancestors who sold other people out to these people who were looking for free labor, and so they kill everything. They kill everything that is our custom. We don't know where we came from. We don't know our ancestors. We don't know our roots. Black Americans, when people
wait, you gotta scoot in. You're getting out of the frame.
When black Americans, when they people talk about them and stuff and say, "Oh, Black Americans are so lazy." No, they're not. Mm-hmm. They're not lazy. Some of them work 2, 3, 4 jobs,
very hardworking,
and they can't get with it. They're not lazy. They were robbed of their heritage. Now, what Black Americans need to understand is not to be bitter. When you're bitter, you don't survive. You don't be bitter. These people, I wouldn't call them what I want to call them.
Yeah, but I'm trying to get monetized here. Let's not kill it before it begins.
They've wronged you. And there is a day of reckoning.
Period.
And every single soul in this life will pay for what they did. And for them, the sins of the father, not shall, will visit the 4th and 5th generation. So instead of Black Americans getting so angry about people coming here and taking what they're supposed to get, you cannot get angry at the Black folk that come from other countries. They didn't come here on our own. The government saw that the Black Americans were getting to the point where they were not going to put up with the folly, and they were going to demand their worth. So what did they do? They open up immigration. Now they want to kick you out now that they get what they want to get. They open up immigration and they bring in immigrants. When an immigrant comes here, when you were born here and you have education, you can demand what you're worth. But when an immigrant comes, I don't care what PhD you have. When you come, you are an immigrant. You have nothing here. You got to start from scratch. So you, whatever they pay you, whatever work you have to work with that. And that's why they open immigration so that they could cut them out. So you see, they got to wake up now. Black Americans got to wake up and say, then, you know what, we're all Black people. Let's band together.
That was another thing I was going to say, because when you get into the immigration talk and the, they think they're better because they're from another country and da-da-da, we end up bickering amongst ourselves, and we're stronger together as a people. At the end of the day, I'm still Black. Yes, my heritage might be, in another country or whatever, but I'm still, ain't nobody mistaking me for nothing else. Okay. I'm still living life as an unambiguous Black woman. So it's like, at the end of the day, we need to be banding together, and we need to look past the, you're from there, I'm from here. At the end of the day, like I said in the beginning of the live, the only thing that separates us is a slave stop. Some of us got dropped off in earlier parts of the journey in the transatlantic slave trade than others. It's literally just a difference of a slave stop. So none of us had a choice. If you are not literally from the motherland, from Africa for generations and having come from there, you have been robbed of a piece of your heritage. It's just that the more you came to the States, the further you went in the journey, the more you lost along the way, because you're getting, like I said, some people died in transit. Some people didn't get to hold on to their culture, their heritage, because you get here, you're sold and you're split up. And it's just like, so we got to get past the, they're Caribbean. They don't understand. They're not Black. Come on now, like, we got to do better.
Well, where do you think they got this stock market from? The idea of this stock market that, we all like to invest in, because you could make a little something and you could save it if you know what you're doing or whatever. Because we were sold on the market. That's how that idea from selling us like animals, it go to money now and whatever they do with the stock market now. That is how that started. It started with us. And we have got to wake up. We have got to unite. We have got to wake up. We've got to learn, understand, sharing, and caring, and loving each other. But before we can do that, you have to first love yourself.
That part.
Because if you don't love you can't love anybody else. You have to first love yourself so that you can love somebody else. And because that's how you survive a lot of times in the Caribbean. I grew up seeing that. That's why up to today, I cannot. I always say I'm going to say no, but I can't say no, because I grew up seeing that if you have somebody, you need to give it to them.
Yeah, I said that in the video too. It's not because I was talking about how Auntie Simone took in Kelly and stuff like that. And in America, that would not be the case. Not for as long as Kelly's been living with her. Listen, they would have been like, all right, she's been here for like a month, 2 months. You got to take her back.
Yeah. She buys all of her clothes.
Yeah.
They pay for extra lessons for her.
Everything.
For schooling and this and that and whatever.
I said that in the video.
Right across the street.
Yeah, I said that in the video I uploaded on Tuesday. So go watch that video to hear about it. But my aunt literally could have been like, nope, you're on your own. But it's like, I have, then I help. Where I can't help, then someone else can help. And you have something I needed, then I help you. Even down to like the details. Like if you go to, that's one thing I do love about Caribbean culture, is that it is that way even here. Because when they come here, a lot of times they end up kind of moving in the same circles, because we do assimilate. I would say out of all the Black foreigners that come to the States, Caribbean people assimilate probably the most, if not the most frequently. Like we tend to blend in to a point where you might not even know we have Caribbean heritage until you hear an accent or you see us at a certain festival or a supermarket, and then you're like, oh, you're, like, but just looking at us, you might not be able to tell unless you just have an eye for it or whatever. And but within us assimilating, we still deal with a lot. So like I said, being outcasted, being talked down about, being, ridiculed and all that. So a lot of them, I can understand why they kind of stick together, because it's like, look, I'm not gonna come here and keep getting beat up. Like at the end of the day, I'm here for a reason. I'm gonna stick with people that understand me, that respect me, and if that happens to just be people that also share my heritage, then it is what it is. And so a lot of those customs remain the same, especially in places where you have a large concentration of Caribbean people. So New York, Miami, New Jersey, certain parts of Philly, certain parts of the DMV too. Like when you get to Langley Park, Tacoma Park area, large Caribbean population. The stores, the way the neighborhoods look, everything. It's like, so people still operate the same way. And even when you go like grocery shopping, for instance, and let's say in the Caribbean you can't afford everything on your bill, they'll put it in a book. Like they write it down in a book. And I know that they used to do that way back in the day in the South here too. I don't know, some stores probably still do it. But they'll write it down in a book and be like, okay, when you get paid, you can bring the rest of the money for the bill or whatever.
So they always ask you to register. Oh, auntie, because everybody calling you auntie. They don't know your name. Auntie, you're paying today? Well, yes, but only got so all right, and they got a book with your name, and they put everything down, and then you pay what you. If you're not paying at all, I say, okay, I'm not paying today. I'll pay month 10. Yeah, and I'll come again. And that's how you operate in the Caribbean. Your name go down in a book. You can go to the store, get your stuff, and you're gonna. I remember my grandmother used to always have a big kitchen garden on a different piece of land to where we live. And when she go in the mornings to pick, and the people come to wholesaling, and the people come to buy from her to go and sell back at the market and stuff, she would throw in some extra so you could get uniform money for them children and things she would tell. And then as she coming home with whatever she's bringing home, she's stopping all the way and drop up, Paul, come quick, come get some Bora, get extra. She stop and give cousin Paul. She stop at this part. She stop at this part. She come by Miss Moses. She go by Ensign. She go by cousin Eula. You would think that she won't have anything left. When she got in the house, she had enough stuff that could cook a whole week. But it was so big, and all the way she's coming, she's dropping off because people have kids, and you don't know their pocket, and you're not going to ask, and you're not going to wait for them to not have anything to cook. You kind of know some people's position that they're really struggling and they're working hard and pushing these children to get a good education. So you have to drop off something. Yeah. And that is what Black Americans, they've got to get to.
It's the anticipating the needs for me. Like, and I say that a lot on my channels. Y'all know that, and on my Instagram, where I'm like, I'm very much about acts of service. I'm very much about like anticipating someone's needs to the best of my ability. Like, I don't know everybody's story. I don't know what everybody's going through. But if you just like, if you have a hunch, like, just go ahead and be of service. Like, go ahead and give. And that's one thing I do love about Caribbean culture. It's like, you don't always have to come out of your mouth and ask, because sometimes, like, when you gotta keep asking for help, that might be blowing your ego. Like, that it'd be like a piece of you leaving every time, especially here, because it's just not the norm to help somebody more than once, maybe twice if you're lucky. But if someone keeps coming to you and needing help or whatever, then it's like, why do you need, like, you still need help? Why do you still need help with this? Why are you still needing assistance? Like, it's just frowned upon. So you are almost forced a lot of times, or not even forced, but you just feel like, okay, I'm just going to suffer in silence because I don't even want to keep asking someone, having them be annoyed by me, feeling like a burden. So it ends up being like every man for himself, like a one-man island, versus like, you know what, I got some extra plantain and my neighbor might need it, I'm gonna give it to them. And then that neighbor might have a chicken or something that they raised that they ended up not going to market, taking the market, so they might give you the chicken. It's like a bartering system. And you give me a chicken, I'll give you some plantain, and you call it a day. Like, because we all have something that the next person could probably use, and it lightens the load. So I do like that a lot about Caribbean culture.
You start to teach your children from young always to share. From just if you have more than one child, sharing and things as little children. Well, as they get older, you start to talk to them to let them understand. This is what would you like to be when you grow up? And they might tell you, and you say, oh, okay, that's nice, and whatever. But as they start to understand logic and common sense, you start to tell them about, I know everybody in your school probably talking about where they're going to move to and this and that and whatever. I would really like for you to stay at home. And this is the reason. If you don't give them reason,
definitely explain.
Don't tell them, well, your friends talking about going, and then nothing good thing happened to them. No. You are giving them a reason to understand why you want them to stay at home. No, you can't make them do anything, and if they don't want to.
Yeah.
But you can always do what I'm sure you guys know about this, that your mother's like that. We will always be there to say, I told you so.
And honestly, too, I would say a large part that makes kids want to stay at home is the environment that you create. Because if people feel like they're being stifled, if people feel like you're not gonna have any room to shuck and jive to bust a move, like they're gonna be like, you know what, I'm out of here. Like nobody wants to feel like they're in a dictatorship. So if you are ruling with the iron fist and you're just like overbearing and you're just like doing too much, trust me, your kids are gonna be on the first and smoking. But if you create an environment where it's like, have authority. I'm not saying like just be your kikiing with your children and acting like they're friends. Like you got to have that parental role. But if you create a safe space, if you allow them to like, spread their wings a little bit, like, just find themselves, parties. Like they're not going to be as eager to run out because it's really the allure. And granted, at the end of the day, they're going to do what they want to do regardless. But, just as a parent, like just speaking for myself, I tried to create that environment for Christian from now where it's not like oh my gosh, like, I can't wait till I move out. Like I try to keep it in a way where it's a fun, loving, safe space. And I pray when I get married that just blossoms even more because I don't want anybody, I'm a huge advocate of people just feeling like they can live their life, feeling like they can be themselves. So if they don't feel like that, they're going to rush out. Coupled with the peer pressure and stuff, they're going to rush out.
Yeah, their birthday parties. And you always allow them to invite, not any Tom, Dick, and Harry now, but the good people, because you always have to kind of like be on, if you're on the sidelines, you got to be looking in and trying to observe these parents. Never let your children have friends and you don't know the parents.
Yeah.
Because from knowing the parents, you're going to know what the products you're going to get coming to your house and being friends with your children. And so you let them invite, they must be able to invite their friends over. And they come and, they can eat and they talk, they chat, they have fun. And they go home with that movie nights, whatever. Well, it depends on who they have for friends. Those people, parents may or may not have them come and do a sleepover. And if your children going to do a sleepover, you make sure you know the parents. And if they are going to go to somebody's birthday party, you make sure. I used to do that. And I would tell them straight up. I would call and I would say, I would like to come over and visit with you. And when I get there, I would tell them, the reason why I'm here, because so-and-so is coming to this birthday party next week, Saturday, and I want to know where I'm sending my child. So who is going to be here for this birthday party? And then they would introduce me to their husband or whatever, especially when it came to Rondelle and Ranka. Junior was a boy, and he went to the same school that Rondelle went to, which was more white people. So when you go to the house, who wasn't doctor, was this and that, but he had a different set of white folks.
Yeah,
those people
changed
were
a lot
nice, but it changed a lot by the time she got there. So if he's going there, I knew where he was sick, that he was safe, and so we would drop him off, we would go back for him, and so on. So if the party is coming to your house, that's the key. You get to see everything that's going on.
Yeah, we had a lot of free reign, I would say, when it came to having friends over. Like it was pretty normal for friends to come, hang out random days of the week, all of that kind of stuff. And parties were pretty regular. Like I said in the video, we're a celebratory culture. We celebrate everything down to a good grade you got on the test. So
you got good grades, you can celebrate
everything. It's just an excuse to lime, as we call it, and to fet. But it just made it easier because it's like I didn't have to worry about friends coming over. I didn't have to worry about hosting parties. I used to host Christmas parties. I used to host girls' days, New Year's Eve parties, just random gatherings, just because. And it was never a rush to get out. I was like, yeah, y'all could chill. Like I said that in the video too, where our parties were like from 6 p.m. until like whatever you want to leave is when the party ends. Like we didn't have ending times. It was just like whatever you want to leave. Like if you end up falling asleep on the floor, that's what it is.
I'm running late from work, and what time are you going to come off for work? We'll have to work some extra. But don't bother to drive and come over here. They can stay over, and then you can pick them up in the morning. My son, the house was always full. His friends, you come in from work, and good afternoon, mom. It's like, why is your mouth full in my kitchen? The mouth full, they're eating, and they say, good afternoon, mom. You had a good day. And because they're mouth full, they can't speak because they're eating. I didn't have a problem with that because he was a young black man in America. And I preferred his friends coming
Mm-hmm.
to my house, and food was always in the fridge because on Sundays, Luther and I used to cook for the entire week. And then we put the days on it. So Junior know he can't take out the food for
Yep.
Tuesday on a Monday and share it. But we always made plenty so they can eat and then
It was
they
never a problem.
study and whatever.
And
so I can keep my eyes.
So Yum's World, y'all, I just figured out this feature that I can show your comments on stream. I'm like, because I kept typing, I saw a show. I'm like, oh, that's how they be getting the comments on the screen. So Yum's World, my girl Yum, she said, hey, Delle, I didn't know you were Caribbean American. This is great and great advice from your mom already. Got to know the parents. Fantastic. Thank you, Mama Martin. So
you're welcome.
Y'all, I'm just now figuring this out. I feel so slow because I realized, I was like, how do people get the comments on the screen? Lo and behold, learn something new every day.
Oh, so there is a app or something?
Yeah, I'm using StreamYard because streaming from YouTube, it jacked me up last week, I think it was. So I'm using StreamYard. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So to wrap this up, because we're definitely approaching 2 hours, and I was like, we ain't even going to be on here long. An hour and a half later.
But it's nice talking with you guys because you comment and so on.
So there was some, I can't remember that thing. There was something, and the thing is, I'm going to watch this replay. And then I'll be like, that's what I wanted her to explain in detail. Because it was something we were talking about like probably 45 minutes ago at this point. And it was a passing comment. And I wanted you to talk about it. Let me scroll up and see if someone had maybe. Oh, I know something else we got to talk about before we get off. So Kendall had asked a question. Let me find that and put that on here. So DreamWork Creative says, that's why I became a mompreneur. Exactly. Family first, period. Okay, so I'm gonna put Kendall's question up. I don't see any questions, so I don't know. Maybe it was something I was talking about and I thought about and I forgot. So, but anywho, Kendall, she asked, you can save this for last or DM me. I have a question. Mama Martin, my 6-year-old won't listen. I have tried everything. Any advice? So, what would you have to say to that?
The 6-year-old is a boy or a girl?
Oh, yeah. Is it a boy or a girl, Kendall? But and what do you mean, like they won't listen? Like when you tell them to do something, do they just blatantly ignore you, or are they like, talking back? How is that? Yeah, I don't see any more questions, so I don't know. I don't know what that is.
Because if it's a boy, it's a different handling. If it's a girl, it's a different handling.
But while we're waiting on that answer, hopefully she's still in here. Any other?
Yeah, but if it's a boy and it's a 6-year-old, that's a person, and he's not listening. That's is going to be a young man with a very strong personality, and you have to pay attention to what he doesn't listen to.
Because, she said it's a boy.
Oh my gosh!
And he does his own thing.
Yes, well, because he has a strong personality, and so you have to start reining him in. It's like, call him by his name. When I ask you to do something, I expect you to do it. When I tell you not to do something, I expect you not to do it. And this is the reason why. When you asked me for something, I stop doing what I'm doing and I give it to you. If you want to do something I'm doing, I let you in. And if you want you want mommy to be happy with you, you have to start listening. You cannot do your own thing. And this is what I used to do with Junior and even my grandson when they were young, very young. Is tell them, look, anything you do now, I don't know if your friends in school do this or whatever, it looks like fun and it looks like a game, but it is not a game. Because if you do not do what you're told to do, you will get punished. I am not the only person that will punish you. Mm-hmm. The world out there, because they're never too young to talk to them, the world out there will punish you. Because this world is not for the parents. You only have 2 parents. And that's it. The world will not give you that opportunity to have a second chance. So you have to do what you're told. You do what you're told because it is good for you. It's the right thing to do. I'm teaching you the right thing. And then you always let them know that, Maybe you're doing this because your friend's parents allow them to do this, because you might know somebody in the neighborhood or whatever that you might be visiting and you see they're allowed to do whatever they want to do. But as you grow up, if you keep this attitude, it is not going to be good for you. You will need to have a different attitude, to be respectful, to do what you're told, not to be rude to an adult, because when you're talking about that's being rude. Therefore, you have to listen, because the world will not make allowances for you. And the people that will tell you now that it is the right thing to do will be the people who will turn on you and destroy your life. They're never too young to talk to them. And then I used to end the conversation by telling them, you are a black man in these United States of America, and you do not have any chance for a second chance if you blow what's going on now. And that's the reason why I spend my money on you. I spend so much time on you. I give you nice things because I want you to be successful. And I used to allow juniors to listen to the news. You know, the news in the afternoon that they tell you all the bad things about black people and none of the good things. And I would say, see this, you hear the news? You don't want to be a statistic. You don't want to be in this. You don't want them to grab you on the street and arrest you for things that you, and you just, because they're never too young. And you start molding them. And then you always tell them that no matter how you think I don't like you or I don't love you, I am the one person that you can count on, because I will always love you, because my love is unconditional.
Yeah.
And I will always love you. And your best friend is me. You don't have any best friend. The only best friend you have is me. So you start to bring it back to you that you become the confidant. And my mother is, my mother is my best friend. I could trust my mother. And then maybe within a year, you'll see how you would change. You have to have the conversation, because if you don't have the conversation, the first instinct is to up your hand and give them one backhand when they get in another place. But it doesn't always work. It would work. Sometimes you really have to slap a child up because they're really gone over the top. But 99% of the time, you don't have to beat them.
So she said, do I keep reiterating this to him every time he doesn't listen?
Every time.
He hasn't been anywhere due to the current state of the world. So I think he is getting this stuff from YouTube. I'm going to do this. Yeah, try that and see. Yeah, YouTube is of the devil, y'all. Awful. And I'm saying that as I'm creating a YouTube video. The irony of it all, right? But seriously, though, like Christian, he has a tablet. I need to get him a new tablet, y'all, because this tablet, it done been through hell and back. But he had YouTube on it, and he has YouTube Kids on it. I put the regular YouTube on it because you guys know he likes to dance and all of that to his Afro beats and whatnot. And YouTube Kids, you can't get that. So I put that on, but of course, he ain't dancing 24/7. So he ends up wandering off and finding this Roblox piggy show that has all this like nonsense and violent stuff and
showing you how to kill people, even though you know not that they actually doing the murder for you to see.
Yeah, but it's alluding to it, and then it's just y'all. So I took YouTube off, and I kept YouTube Kids, but honestly, I'm like this close from taking that off too, because the shows like he don't want to be watching Peppa Pig and Google Kids and Google Cousins or whatever. He want to watch Masha and the Bear. Masha Has No Behavior. And these other things. He does like Ryan. I don't mind Ryan's World. There's a lot of house projects and the kids playing and stuff. But listen, I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, they got to do better. They got to do better. So, yeah, YouTube, y'all. It's a whole other animal. As I make a YouTube live stream.
But it is not
but it's different
what
for
you guys do. You guys are doing
we're trying to uplift, we're trying to encourage
and whatever. But this every day I'm angry when I see YouTube Kids. It's like, why we have something called Roblox, but it's not. I thought it was roadblocks, and they're showing how you block the road from traffic. So these people showing demonic stuff.
It's straight up demonic.
Masha and the bear or whatever her name is, she's an evil little girl. Why would you do something to a bear to spin him up in the air and got him spinning and you don't know where he landed and all this kind of, no, they got to go. Kendall
said, thank you so much, Mama Martin. We don't spank. It's very rare. He found the Roblox stuff too. It's Roblox. I'm telling you.
Oh, yes.
Ebony said, what's with these kids in Roblox? It's a cult fan favorite. Like it's a cult classic, and it's got to go because I'm just not here for it. Like Christian be doing some weird stuff, and I'm just like, where did you get this from? Because Christian don't have no friends down here. We moved down here, we hit homelessness, we got on our feet, and then COVID was like, "Hey, how's it going?" So he didn't have time to make any
nobody
friends.
Comes here, we don't go to anybody's
so
house.
He don't go anywhere, and if he does, it's with me. So I'm like, okay, like this got to be YouTube because it can't be no other kids. Yes, I don't mind Ryan's World and Lanky Box. I never heard of Lanky Box. Girl, he be finding stuff. He knows how to speak what he wants in Google. These kids come out the womb with a cell phone in hand. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's crazy.
They take the show with Peppa Pig and
they're cursing
to thing now.
That was a Roblox one too. And DreamWorks Creative said even with the restrictions, they're still terrible. They are like because there was a Peppa Pig Roblox thing that I found, and the guy was cursing on it. And so one day Christian was saying what he was saying. I said, "What'd you say?" And then he repeated. I was like, "Don't say that. We don't say that in this house." And then I had to block that. And the thing is, when you block it, they still recommend like channels and.
And Christian now knows the password.
Yeah, he knows the password. But let it be any of us creators trying to be inspiring, encouraging, uplifting. We struggling to get an SEO score of 100. We struggling to get them things hitting. We like, come on now, push out my videos. But Roblox over here doing machete knife tricks and cursing and whatnot, and it's getting spread all throughout YouTube. But we sitting here trying to encourage with the word of the Lord, uplift, sisterhood, togetherness, unity. they're like unity, togetherness.
Exactly. No,
who wants to see that? We want to see violence. We want to see cursing, dysfunction, chaos. Like that's what we want to see. So I'm about to start my own YouTube, y'all. You heard it here first. Delle Tube or something like that, like Uplift Tube or something. I don't know. We gonna figure it out, but we gotta get our own
for kids and stuff.
We gotta get our own platform because this don't even make no sense. They do pop up all in the algorithm, and you're just like, dang, like where this come from? I be finding some weird stuff in the algorithm, y'all, but. Anywho, we're gonna have to have a roundtable discussion to just air out our woes of YouTube because everyone in here creates YouTube videos and I know they feel the struggle. Me and Ebony talk about it, me and Kendall, like I done talked about it with people and we just fed up. We're sick and tired of being sick and tired.
You have kids and you don't want your kids to learn bad habits.
Yes, exactly. Cursing and drama gets all the love. It's just ridiculous. Like, but we out here trying to help folk. Each one teach one, and they like, we ain't putting that out. All this positivity. Like, go somewhere with that. This is 2021. We don't need positivity.
Wicked spirits.
Exactly.
It's all about money.
It's crazy.
The almighty dollar.
Yeah.
That's their God money.
Exactly. So. Anywho, I think that's all that I could think of that's gonna, keep this at a decent time frame and we don't end up talking all night. Because I definitely got a boot camp.
I ain't even cook.
Oh, you didn't cook? I'm starving. Yeah. My stomach's touching my back. See, this is a problem with most of you. So I'm kidding. Communicate. You gotta communicate.
Well, I was about to cook when you land.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, my mom's phone be hotline blinging, y'all. My phone be dry as a mug some days. Your phone be so dry, you be checking like, am I getting signal? Like, is anybody calling me?
Best friend from
maybe I'm just not getting signal.
I mean, we were talking about, life now that we're older and stuff and how many things we don't have anymore and stuff and whatever. And then she was telling me, don't feel bad because she said, I retired last year, but without my children, I won't be able to survive. But she is even worse than me because her husband, from the time he landed in America, he started getting sick next year. So he never worked here long enough to get any Social Security. Yeah. It's just hers. He said, thank God I educated my children. I taught them to love and to share. And I used to let them know how much struggle we are going through to give because the daughter, that's the doctor, she's now home. But she doesn't work in Chicago anymore and she's staying there. She come back home and later on she's going to buy her own house. Yeah. And so she said, my children make me able to go on vacations and all that because she has 2 sons and a daughter.
So, but that's all. So this won't be the last time my mom's on here. Probably the last time for a while. Actually, no, I'm lying. She's gonna be on here in July, but in a video.
In July, why?
Because we're doing that mukbang on vacation. Oh. But but that's not gonna be a live. I'm gonna tape that and edit it because it's gonna be too hard to do it live on vacation.
And you are gonna do that in the house.
Yeah, we're doing it in the house.
Yeah, because I can't sit up on no beach in the sun.
No,
I wouldn't. Because then by the time I get up from the beach,
it's gonna be too hot, sand in your booty.
And then exactly, and then I don't see for the next week because the sun.
No, it'll be in the vacation home, but we're gonna eat and talk, and I'll figure something out. So y'all will get to see my family in that video. But before we close too, my mom's cookbook, it's gonna come out. I'm gonna do a soft launch because I don't want to just like put it out and just rush to market it. I want to do the proper steps. So just if you're not following her on Instagram, let me put her Instagram link so you can follow. But I'm also gonna get her mailing list up and popping too, because that's been up. But
this is just children's treat in this one.
And more importantly, y'all should be able to click that link, I don't know, and get straight to it. But sand in your booty, okay? But so she's gonna have some merch coming out. I'm not gonna say what kind of merch, but I'm gonna order it in July. Lord willing, it comes in the same month and I can release it in August. But as everything starts going, then we will definitely let you guys know what the merch is. It's gonna be really fun. And we're going to have some digital merch too. So that's going to be the videos that I've been meaning to upload. I'll probably release them at the same time as the book, so I can just market them because they're pretty similar. It's just that the recipes aren't in this book, but same concept. You get the recipes, you cook and all that. One's written, one's video. But the merch I'm excited about, but I'm not going to reveal it yet. I don't want to talk it up until I actually get that stuff bought and whatnot. So just make sure you're following my mom. Once this channel is monetized, like I said, we get to 1K subs and I get those 4,000 watch hours. Mama Martin will have her own YouTube channel. But in the meantime, to get her on live more, to just get used to showing up every week, we're going to do weekly live streams on her IG. So I don't know what day yet. We kind of threw it out there and thought about Tuesday, maybe doing like a cook lunch with me or cook dinner with me where she's cooking and we just chit chat and she's like letting you know what she's cooking. But it's just like this, but we're cooking kind of thing, And so we'll see if Tuesdays work. I'm trying to find a day that works for both of us when I'm not out with doing Uber Eats or out working with clients or whatever. So all of that will be on her page. Just make sure you stay tuned. Follow, share. Sharing is caring. And that's pretty much all I have to say. I don't think there's any other announcements, but
a happy Father's Day to your husbands, your fathers.
Is that this weekend, Father's Day?
Sunday.
Oh,
Luther is not here, so nobody paying attention to Father's Day.
I'm your father. It's like, no. But no, I'm going out for Juneteenth. Happy Juneteenth to everybody too. It's now officially a holiday. So, I'm going out with my photographer. We're going to go to the Black Hair Experience Museum. So that's that. But yeah, so happy Juneteenth. Happy Father's Day. Hope y'all have a good weekend. Stay safe. Stay cool.
Stay safe.
And I apologize if you heard any noise in the background of this live. It's my fan going. Our AC broke, so we're waiting on the maintenance people.
Yeah, they haven't shown up yet. It's over 24 hours.
I've been running this little rinky-dink fan. I'm about to go get me some more box fans for the house. Because I'm like, on the bright side is the electric bill is going to be lower. So,
yeah, true.
So that's the bright side. And I mean, I am low key sweating while I'm sitting here. I'm not drenched in sweat, but it's kind of like being in a personal sauna. So you always got to see the glasses half full. That's like my sister was working out real quick yesterday. I'll say this: she was working out yesterday, and boy, was she sweating. I was like, don't it feel great? Like you got to drop weight so much faster because the house is hot. And it's like exercising in the sauna, so the sweat is like 10 times more.
Yes, today's my washing day. I can't even wash.
Can't wash till tonight when the temperature drops. But happy Juneteenth, everybody. So I hope y'all connect with each other. Make sure you scroll these comments on the replay, follow each other, subscribe, support, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys next week. So the Thursday lives are a thing now for the foreseeable future. Starting in July, they're going to slightly change because I'm bridging the gap between my IG Thursday lives on my business page and my YouTube one. So Thriving Thursdays are now going to be on YouTube. So we're going to talk business, faith, and life. So, I'll every now and then throw in something like this for culture, but it's going to be like what I would talk about on my IG on YouTube. And we just gonna take it from there. So I hope everyone enjoyed this. Thank you for joining me live. I will see you guys on Instagram and in the YouTube comments. Please don't forget to like this video to send it out to the algorithm. And have a good one.
Yes, take care.